you'll be performing after a decade, if I'm not wrong, in
Yes, it's been
Australia.
about 10 years. Yeah, I
So
must have rubbed somebody the wrong way last time I was there.
2024 has been great so far. I mean, it began with a bang, 3 Grammys, and we were really proud to see you represent India. How
Thank
was
you
it
very
for
much.
you?
But it wasn't just me alone. I had dear friends
Yes,
who collectively helped to fly the India flag. I mean, I won
right.
3. Rakesh Chaurasia, Hari Prasad Chaurasia's nephew won 2,
Yes,
and Shankar
yes,
Mahadevan, Ganesh Rajgopalan, and Selva Ganesh won 1 each. It's the
right.
most number of Grammys that came to India in a year.
India ever.
So
Mm.
so that was a record, and Indian winning 3 in a row on the same
Hmm.
year is also a new record. So that was great, and we were so proud that we were there together, and it was raining Grammys for India. That's what Rahman said, and it was great to have him there, and we were all together jumping up and down with joy, and
Yeah,
it was a lot of fun, and a lot of camaraderie, and even though it was raining cats and dogs outside, and
right.
it was cold, but it was you know it was great. It was fabulous.
And also that comes with a lot of hard work that has gone behind, 50 years of Shakti. And,
Yeah, I mean,
the
and as we speak, the thing is, people congratulate me saying, "Oh, you won 3 Grammys in a row," and that's great. But I couldn't have done it without so much help from other musicians who are on the
yes.
records, and without them backing me up, it could not have happened. So, hats off to them.
Having said that, collaborations, you are coming to Australia again with two beautiful musicians, string musicians, and you'll be performing Triveni.
Yes,
If you could tell us more about Triveni, and as much as I know, it's about rivers.
Ganga, Jamuna, and Saraswati. These are
Mhm.
the 3 rivers who are sacred rivers. They come from up there, Kailash and whatever, and they come and they meet at the point of Sangam
Mhm.
outside Allahabad, and
Mhm.
where the Kumbh Mela takes place, and
Mhm.
and so it's a very sacred meeting, and of course these rivers are connected to mythology and to divinity, and
Mhm.
therefore have a very special place in our history. And
Right.
that Triveni did not set out to want to be like them, because that's
Mhm.
impossible.
Mhm.
These are angelic characters which we cannot in any way emulate or be like or try to be the same as. But this is in some ways a reverent, uh, how should I say, tribute
Mhm.
to that kind of sangam, and and here we are, Kala Ramnath, who comes from North Indian world of music, but plays a
Right.
Western classical instrument, which is the
Mhm.
violin,
Right.
which is an oddity by itself. And then Jayanthi Kumaresh, who comes from the Carnatic system of music, South
Mhm.
Indian, and plays the ancient veena. So there are these
Yes.
two instruments which are quite ancient. Violin comes from a 600-year tradition, while the
Right.
veena comes from over a 1500-year-old tradition.
Mhm.
And one is bowed instrument, not struck,
Uh-huh.
and veena is an instrument that is struck. So it
Mhm.
has that how do you say, anahat nad and ahat nad,
Uh-huh.
so
Uh-huh.
unstruck and struck. So when you put
Mhm.
those two elements together, that is basically the basis of Nada Brahma. So
Wow.
so so having that happen,
Mhm.
and then I get to be the rhythmic element in the place, because all the rivers, when they flow in a particular rhythm,
Right.
and because they flow in a rhythm, they arrive at that point fully ready to meet,
Mhm.
and
Mhm.
so that's one of the reasons why we called this group Triveni,
Beautiful.
as a bow to not only our mythology and
Mhm.
to India itself, but also to how uh, it integrates all those elements that the rivers flow through. I mean, there are
Mm-hmm.
so many different cultures, so many different way of lives, so many types of food, so many type of wares, clothes, and
Right.
people different. All of those come together, and then the
Right.
essence of all that meets in the Sangam, or the where the Triveni Sangam is. So
Yeah.
that's why we called it that, because this music, these three elements, that is Kala, Jayanthi, and myself, sort of
Mm-hmm.
represent India at its core. The thought of India is
Mm-hmm.
as a unified statement. It's like a big symphony orchestra
Yeah.
with 100 people playing, but yet they all are playing the same melody. And of course, Kala and Jayanti are two of the finest representative of their particular art form.
Right.
And for me to be able to work with them is really a very special moment, a great blessing, and
Mm-hmm.
a chance to be able to reinvent myself in this
Yeah.
particular combination, and find maybe a different vocabulary from to play my own instrument.
You collaborate with so many artists from different genres. How do you adapt your self or your tabla to play with or to jam with such musicians?
Whether it is a North Indian musician or a South Indian musician or a jazz or a rock or a pop artist,
Hmm.
I don't approach interacting with any one of these musicians with this chip on my shoulder saying, oh,
Hmm.
I represent a 2000-year-old tradition, and so
Right.
therefore I am the master. No,
Hmm. Hmm.
I am
Hmm.
there to learn, to offer whatever assistance that I can.
Hmm.
So to be able to create uh, this canvas that blossoms into this beautiful painting with my two bits put in there, and
Yeah.
that's it. So if I approach it saying, oh, I'm an Indian classical tabla player and I'm only going to do
Hmm.
that, and
Yeah.
then the
Yeah.
other guy says, oh, I'm a jazz musician and I'm only going to do that, so then we are
Hmm.
already created a fence.
Right.
We are not crossing over. So
Hmm.
that's kind of a mindset is a bad mindset, but the kind of
Hmm.
a mindset which does not uh, acknowledge or accept fences, that does not
Hmm.
accept borders, that does not
Right.
accept any kind of hindrance, but just an open mind and open arms interaction and embrace of each
Right.
other's tradition and love. So that's basically my approach to making music with whoever I'm making.
Right.
My father had told me once that, son,
Hmm.
don't try to be a master, just try to be a good student, and you will get by just fine. So playing
Hmm.
with different musicians requires to be a good student. And
Wow.
that's what I bring to the table, and it helps me to be able to not only learn, but when required,
Right.
offer my two bits.
In today's day and age, when there's a lot of tech involved, how do you integrate tech into your music? And what's your
Well,
take on the AI bit?
First of all, the kind of music that we play, or the kind of music that Triveni is going to play,
Hmm.
there's no
Hmm.
electronics involved in it.
Right,
It's
right.
basically an acoustic chamber form of music, which will
Hmm.
utilize amplification to be able
Yeah.
to get the music to the audience. That's about it.
Hmm.
But
Hmm.
when it comes to making use of new technologies, whether it is multi-tracking of songs, or using synthesizers, or computers and Pro Tools and whatnot and
Hmm.
everything,
Hmm. Hmm.
which are also kind of like predecessors to AI.
Right, right.
Those are things that uh, only work if the person using them is aware of of both the traditions.
Pretty hard.
Whether
Yeah.
so if I'm going to use AI for my
Hmm.
Indian music, then it
Hmm.
works because I am aware of Indian music. Worked with computers and stuff and in recording studios for decades. I'm
Hmm.
kind of comfortable with the new technologies, so I'm able
Right.
to maybe find a way to be able to marry them together. But
Hmm.
in the hands of somebody who doesn't understand music but
Hmm.
understands technology,
Right.
and uses just samples and things because he or she understands technology, and
Hmm.
creates some kind of music that
Hmm.
is easy to dance to, uh, uh,
Hmm.
uh, but doesn't necessarily have uh, what you may call a melodic content that would stand the test of time. I mean, there are so many songs or so many pieces of music that everybody has bought or danced to over
Yeah.
the last, say, 3 years, and in a disco or in a club or in a concert hall, and walked away with the memory of only
Yeah. Yeah.
just that. And
Mm-hmm.
so it's like that. But AI at the moment
Yeah.
is in its infancy. It's still a new
Yeah.
kid on the block, and
Mm-hmm.
for us to be able to already try to build defenses against it, or try to label it as something that's going to change the way we do things or take jobs away from people or
Mm-hmm.
whatever that is being touted in the world about it is too early. I think
Yeah.
you've got to allow, I mean, someone like, say, A.R. Rahman or
Mm-hmm.
Shankar Ehsaan Loy or Salim Suleiman Merchant. They've been using AI in their film music, for instance,
Right.
and but because they understand the technology and they are themselves very good musicians,
Music.
they are able to find a good compromise between those elements and come up with a very balanced piece of work.
Work.
And
Yeah.
yeah, so that I believe is a great thing. All I know is
Mm-hmm.
that at least in the world of films,
Right.
visual arts, uh,
Mm-hmm.
it is already creating a bit of a tremor because of how the likeness of an actor is being utilized in many different ways
Mm.
without the actor getting any benefits of it.
Right.
So
Right.
and so that's happening there, and somebody's going to have to find a way to be able
Mm.
to put some words into a clause in a
Mm-hmm.
contract that
Yeah.
helps to solve the problem there.
Right. I mean, you're talking about films, and how could I not talk about Monkey Man, where we saw you after so long, you featuring and playing the tabla in this very interesting sequence. How was it like?
Oh, it was great. I mean, I had no clue what Dave Patel had in mind.
Yeah.
And the funniest thing was when I arrived at the location, it was in the middle of the pandemic. And
Mm-hmm.
so I was put in a cottage all by
Mm-hmm.
myself under
Mm-hmm.
quarantine. The only way I could communicate with him was that if he came, within 100 feet of my cottage, and we kind of screamed at each other, me on my porch and him being off far away, and so communication was a little difficult.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I had no clue, but later on I found out that he was inspired by this ad that he had seen,
Mm-hmm.
where a very famous basketball player named Kyrie Irving was working out, and a drummer was interacting with him and providing the time and rhythm
Mm-hmm.
patterns for Kyrie Irving to work with. So
Right.
that's what. So it was like a dance with
Mm-hmm.
rhythms going on, and that inspired him. And we, meaning Dave and I, had already met a couple of
Yeah.
times because he was working in a film uh, that was shot in San Francisco, and
Mm-hmm.
my daughter was
Mm-hmm.
a line producer on it.
Oh,
So
okay.
so that's how we had met, and
Mm-hmm.
so naturally it occurred to him that in order for him to show how he actually developed those martial arts moves for the
Yeah.
movie, maybe this was a good idea to get me involved, and as somebody who provides the rhythmic balance
Good.
of,
Mm.
in him to be able to become what he does. And so that's how it came about. And it took us about 3 days to shoot in very heavy rain. And
Again?
because yeah, the sky was open,
Yeah.
and the
Yeah.
set was open because it was a
Yeah.
broken down temple. And so it was difficult for me to sit on the floor and have water all around me from the rain. and for him to shoot, and it was, but we managed to get through it, and as we kept shooting, we kept refining my patterns and his moves and finding things that work. And then after it was all shot and done, Dev Patel actually edited this particular sequence in the film in
Yes, yes.
Australia, and
Ah,
yeah,
okay.
and he took quite a few weeks to be able
Hmm.
to edit it just so. So what you see is not just the shoot, 3 days of shooting, but quite a few weeks of real hard work with Dave and his editor.
I am sure because he has briefly mentioned the challenges behind sequencing the beats and the action,
Yeah,
and him being an actor,
yeah,
for him being a first-time director, so all of those things.
yeah.
Sir, I won't take too much
But
of your
but but
time.
uh, let me ask
Yeah,
you, were you
yes,
able to sit through all the blood and gore in the film?
yeah, I could.
I haven't yet been to the movie theater to see it, believe it or not,
Yeah,
because
yeah,
all the blood and gore is kind of something that I'm not, uh,
fond of.
happy
Yeah,
to
yeah.
fond of, but I'm going to have to go and catch a glimpse. So maybe I'll sleep through the rest of the movie and just wake up for that particular sequence.
But
So,
it's always good to see you on screen, and I'm sure there's more coming. I wanted to ask you what's next for you, what's next for Shakti, and what are your future projects that we can look forward to?
well, I mean, Triveni is one of the projects that I
Yeah,
started, which has
yeah.
kind of caught on and is going to go, and hopefully we'll make a record and do all that. I have one of the other records that won the Grammys is called
Hmm.
As We Speak,
Speak.
with
Yeah,
Bela Fleck, Edgar Meyer, and Rakesh Chaurasia.
sure. Yeah.
So that is going on tour starting
Okay.
next month. Yeah,
Hmm.
and I mean, and it's very strange. I'm going to do a 2 week tour with them in America, and then rush over to Australia and New Zealand to do a
Yeah.
concerts with Triveni, and
Hmm.
rush right back to join them to do another 2 weeks of tour. So that's going to happen, and then I have to go to India to offer my prayers for the Guru Purnima,
Yeah.
and play in Singapore, and and after that, I have another trio with Dave Holland and Chris Potter that has to go on tour, and we will probably, as we speak, will make another record. There are many offers that have come in for Shakti to go on tour, and we
Yeah.
are at the moment in discussions about it. So that's going to happen. I have a symphony orchestra piece that's
Yeah.
come
Yeah.
about that I have to do in England.
Hmm.
I wrote a concerto for full symphony orchestra, 90 musicians, plus a sitar and a bamboo flute and tabla.
Wow.
So that's going to perform in England, and I'm looking forward to that. And miles to go before we sleep. You?
Looking forward to you performing in Australia, and we all are
I'm
waiting for
looking
you.
forward
That's
to
all I
being
can say.
there and sharing a flat white with you. Okay.
Excellent. Thank you so much, sir, for talking to me today and giving your
Thank you,
time to
Torsha.
Indianlink.
Take care.